Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen. Today, we have a guest, a surrogate from, I'm just going to let her introduce herself. I'm not going to say nothing. Go for it.
I am Lauren and I am from Pennsylvania and I delivered my first surrogate baby back in December.
Oh, that's new.
Yes, very new, about 6, 7 months postpartum.
God, you look great.
Thank you.
Wow. Good
You
for
look
you.
phenomenal. I have so many questions, but I'm gonna ask how did you find out about surrogate? Like how were you like, I want to become a surrogate?
I feel like I just randomly knew about it. I don't know if it's like from the media or whatever. And then just growing up, I always heard my mom say, like, I would always carry a baby for my sister-in-law because they were never able to have kids. And she had always said, like, I would have done it, or it never happened, but it was just like this open conversation of it was an option.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so sweet. Okay, so then how did you go agency or did you go independent?
I went agency right when I was about 6 months postpartum with my daughter. I have one daughter. I started looking into it because I delivered her and it felt like our family was so complete. I loved just having her, but I was so sad because I loved being pregnant. Like I couldn't imagine that part of my life being over at only 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
So started looking into it, but hit a major roadblock because when I delivered her, she was diagnosed with IUGR.
What's that?
What is that?
It's called intrauterine growth restriction.
Oh, yeah.
So it can be figured out by it could have been the placenta, or it could have been this, or it could have been that, but they really don't know.
Okay.
But in my case, I had weight loss surgery. I had gastric bypass surgery 1 year before conceiving her. So when you have weight loss surgery, it's very normal to then give birth to a small baby if you have a baby, semi recently to having surgery.
Sure. Okay.
So anyway, I was shot down by almost every agency and clinic at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my heart was broken. I was like, I just was sad. I didn't want to not be pregnant again. It was like, at that point, it was in my heart. I really wanted to do it. And then about 4 years later, I randomly got a call from one of the agencies saying, are you still interested? Clinics lifted the restriction and we can now work with people who have had IUGR if you get clearance from an MFM.
Okay.
What's an MFM?
A maternal fetal medicine doctor. It's like the Rolls Royce of GYNs, basically.
Okay.
So I was like, well, that's no problem. I have an MFM and they'll give me clearance, no problem, because mine was so situational.
Right. Right.
And since having my daughter, I was able to put on a healthy amount of weight and was doing well and knew that I could support a pregnancy, no problem.
Okay.
So got clearance and then everything moved forward.
Okay.
So did you know what kind of couple you wanted to work with, where you wanted them located? Did you know anything or did you not care?
So my husband was very on the fence in the beginning, and I kind of preached it to him as, well, imagine a couple like us wanting kids and then not being able to. So
very good. Nice.
He was very understanding of that. But then as I got closer and started looking into it on Facebooks and just joining all the groups and reading all these nightmare stories of a lot of times IMs maybe not being the nicest.
Yeah.
And there is trauma behind that. I can't imagine having to give up that part of becoming a mom. That's devastating.
Right.
But I just didn't want that trauma and that devastation then put on me.
Okay.
So I really switched gears and really only wanted to work with dads, gay men, dads, single dads. I don't care, just dads.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
did you get a couple that was just dads or a dad?
So I received a call from the agency. I had, gone through the whole process and signed up with an agency, and they called me and they said, well, we have an IF. He's a single IF and he's older. He's 59. And I was like, well, that's fine. I was like, well, okay, let's talk to him, whatever. And they said, okay, but before we talk with him, he is HIV positive. Is that something that you would consider? And I was like, and I had done my research on that. And I said, that's not an issue for me. I knew that, it's so safe. There's really no risks associated. Right. So I said, well, that was fine. They're like, okay, because, he's been waiting a really long time because of his age and being HIV positive, it's very hard to match. And I was like, well, that's not a problem. So we moved forward with a match call at that point.
Interesting.
Huh.
Okay. I know how this goes. So, but hold on. Okay. So, so when it comes to agency, how many like did you talk to, or did you just go with the first one you talked to?
So a friend of mine actually works for an agency. So I initially
Oh.
went to hers,
Okay.
and then every same-sex couple or just like IF couple or IF that they had, their clinics immediately denied me with the IUGR.
Okay,
So
got
then
it.
she said, you know what? I have another a clinic, but I don't have any couples there. But this other agency does, and I worked with them on my first journey. So why don't
Okay.
you go with them? And I was like, okay. I didn't really think
Yeah.
about it too
Yeah.
much.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes time to doing the matching, you guys meet in person or meet on Zoom?
It was on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are they
'cause well,
local?
because you were like via COVID, because if she was just born in December, then you
Oh.
got pregnant.
Yeah, kind of towards the end, but
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much all the restrictions had been lifted at that point, besides wearing a mask at the doctor's office, but that was it.
Sure. Okay. Are they local?
They're semi-local. They live in New York City.
Okay.
Wait,
So
it's
about-
now a they? Hold on, it's now a they?
Well, it becomes a they, but
Sorry.
at this
Okay.
point,
So sorry.
spoiler
Right.
alert.
Tune in. Okay, Ellen. Whoa, wow.
Okay, wait, let's
Wait, no, I have a question. You have to let me ask a question, Kennedy.
Fine.
Okay. Was there any talk, any discussion on why the heightened age, why he waited so long? Because in my head, I'm thinking he has a baby at 60. Okay.
Yes.
He's almost 80 before baby gets out of high school.
right.
Like, I'm not being the judge. I'm just
Right.
saying, was there what delayed him? I guess.
So he had this is what I was told, and then getting to know him, it made more sense.
Okay.
I was told he had a very successful like athletic career when he was younger. And
Okay.
at that point, it was not acceptable to be out and gay. I mean, that was in the 80s. And especially being in athletics and on a team, you couldn't be out.
Right.
And then when that ended and he came out, he was just living his life, moved to New York City and started a very successful career.
Okay.
And then I was told he had a partner, a long-term partner, and his partner never wanted kids. And then that recently ended during COVID, and he decided he wanted to do it on his own.
Got it. That makes a lot of
Okay.
sense.
That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yep.
No judgment, just curious because that's
No, I was just very curious.
I
on
know.
why.
I mean,
yeah.
Totally makes sense. Okay.
Totally.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So you get matched, and then how does this go? So where are you going for your like? Are you going local to your clinic, or do you have to fly somewhere?
Or to go to New York.
so his fertility clinic is New England Fertility, and they're in Connecticut. So it's not far. It's only about 5 hours from me. So my husband and I drove.
Oh, bless your
That's
heart.
nice.
Yeah, we love it. It was fun. So yeah, we matched in November of 21, and our medical clearance was then in January. So like 2 months later.
Okay.
An agency didn't give us any contact information. So from that time until medical
Right.
clearance, we didn't talk. We never met, like nothing, no texting, nothing.
Okay.
Interesting.
He did come to medical clearance, and that was the first time we ever met. So that was nice. Met, we did like the whole appointment, psych, and everything all at that time.
Okay. Good.
And then we were able to go out to dinner and then went our separate ways.
Okay. Okay. And how was the vibe when you guys were like when you met in person?
It was really good. I mean, definitely odd because it was like, I don't know, we led up to this for so long. I was very excited.
Yeah.
And then you meet and it's like, okay, it's definitely a 59-year-old man. Like, I don't know, like maybe a little hard to relate, but we really got along so well. Him and my husband got along really well.
Okay.
And everyone was
Good.
very nice.
That's what I was going to ask. Did your husband, because women have intuition, but men do too. They just don't talk about it a whole lot. So did he kind of click, or did he kind of go, oh, I don't know about this?
He definitely clicked with him like immediately. Like, there was nothing weird, but he just said like he's very nice, but he's different from us.
Sure. Yes.
I mean, he's like a wealthy man living in New York City, living his best life.
Yeah.
We're not that. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes time to transfer, do you transfer one or two?
Just one.
Okay. And did
go ahead.
Yeah.
He was very adamant about really only wanting one baby. So
well, yeah.
Like I was pretty sure that if it split, he would probably reduce at that point.
Okay.
So we transferred one, and then at my betas were like through the roof. It was insane, like off the bat. I never said anything to him though, because we didn't really have, like, we had some communication, but it was like all very like foreign to him. And I didn't want to be like, okay, my betas are like triple what they should be. So we went for the very first ultrasound appointment and they said it split. And like he was on Zoom and went white, like,
Oh my gosh.
was white.
I have like goosebumps.
I
Oh, dear
so,
Christ.
like he's freaking out. He's like, you need, like, what's going on? What's going on? So they're like, it split, but nothing ever developed. Like it just split, but nothing's there. And we're all like, phew, like, thank goodness, because I did not want to have to go through
A
making
reduction.
that.
So it split, one baby took and the other baby no, or just nothing?
The embryo split and like there was a second sac, but there was nothing there.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
So that was good.
All right.
And then, everything went great. Very first time, everything took, we had no issues after that.
How was your post-transfer? Like, did you have like restrictions? Did you have to lay down for 3 days?
Like
Nothing?
we literally went back to the hotel. We got a little bit dressed up, went out to dinner, went home the next morning, like no issues.
Okay. So
Amazing.
you just stayed for one night post-transfer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I love New England Fertility. They are huge advocates for natural cycle transfers. So I was able to do a natural cycle transfer. I didn't have to take any injections. I only had to do S-trace pills and a progesterone suppository for like 12 weeks. And that was it. I didn't take a single shot, like nothing.
Stop.
And after the transfer?
Amazing. No, nothing like, at all.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. So they basically just tracked my natural cycle and we transferred on my natural cycle and it was amazing. It's a lot of monitoring though. So I had to go leading up to transfer. I was at the monitoring clinic almost every day, if not every other day for like 2 weeks.
And there's a monitoring clinic where you can use one that was close or not so close?
Not really. So no fertility clinic near me would take monitoring patients. So I ended up going to our local hospital and they did my blood work and then my OBGYN would do the ultrasound.
Okay.
And
they were
a mix.
So you didn't have to
but
travel.
They were amazing with getting the results same day and getting me in every single time I needed to. So it ended up working out great.
Oh,
That's
great.
lovely.
I have to backtrack. I have to understand this because you're not the first one to like say that you've done a natural cycle, but you're the first one on here that I can recall that said that they've done a natural cycle. I need to know how. Like, I don't understand because you're not taking estrogen, you're not taking progesterone.
She was taking S-trace pills, right?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
And progesterone suppositories, right?
And the suppository. That's
okay, so you were just doing it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
No shots. She was getting
no
shots.
Lupron,
No shot.
no nothing.
Nothing.
And
they didn't want to suppress my cycle with Lupron or anything. They wanted it all natural.
Did they have you go on birth control at all?
Yes. So I was put on birth control 2 months prior to medical clearance because they didn't want my lining fitting at all. So that when I went to med clearance, they could see it thickened at, I don't know, its thickest.
Okay.
And then I was taken off of birth control at that point until transfer. So it was about 2 to 3 months in between.
Okay.
Which I was very, at the time, very against and not happy with, because obviously as a surrogate, the last thing you want to do is get pregnant on your own, not with a surrogate baby.
Seriously.
Right.
But it ended up working out fine.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I had a question and now it's gone. Okay. Oh no, that's what it was. Okay, so you had like your medical clearance in like January.
Yes.
Right. So when did you have your transfer?
Transfer was April 8th.
You had to wait that long?
Yes.
That's a long time.
What, 3-4 months?
Yeah, but that's a long time.
That's crazy. That's great. That's crazy.
The natural transfer took a little bit longer because they're not controlling your cycle.
Right.
Like our legal was literally 2 weeks. Like that, it was so quick.
Okay. Yeah. But just like, cause that's where my head went. I'm like, wait,
it's the natural cycle.
Like, what if you're a couple days off? Like
they want you to have like 2 full natural cycles after getting off the birth control, which can take almost a month to get back. And then 2 cycles, like, and that second one, they monitor, like it's a whole lot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But so worth it because once they do the transfer, you're done. Like you're taking an oral pill, but that's about it.
The progesterone
suppository.
Okay, so you're doing both. Okay. And then you did that how many weeks post?
11 weeks.
11. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. This is
Wait,
kind of cool. Like
I like it.
It was so nice.
I like it, except the suppositories. I would take a shot over a suppository because,
Nope.
like,
I would take a suppository over a shot.
The suppositories, they're gross
They
and
are.
very annoying.
so
But I think I would rather it over the shot. Like I just
Yeah.
wore panty liners every day, and it was the
Right,
new norm.
yeah.
There you go.
Sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I get that. Okay. So moving on from this. So embryo took.
Yes,
And-
we did it was a 5-day embryo, April 8th, which fun fact, if you transfer a 5-day embryo on April 8th, your due date will be Christmas Day.
Oh.
So
Oh.
my due date was Christmas Day.
I don't know. That sounds like it's not a pleasing day for everybody, but we'll,
No.
okay.
No.
You have
Not
a
for
family,
anyone.
right? If you have a family and you're trying to like make sure you're home for Christmas. I
Yeah,
had
no,
a surrogate friend. I had a surrogate friend who delivered triplets on Christmas morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, and
I know.
You know, obviously, as a surrogate, the number one requirement is you have to have kids of your own and be raising them. So being
Right.
due Christmas Day with someone else's baby is not ideal
No,
Yeah.
absolutely
at
not.
all.
Not at
Absolutely
all. Not at all.
So did
But yeah.
you deliver early or did you?
Wait, let's go. Hold on. There's so much to get to.
Okay.
Okay. So you're pregnant now and you get released to your OB. I have to know how relationships are going.
Okay, yes. So
Yes.
at that point, I'm pregnant, and we knew a few weeks ahead when I would graduate. So at that point, I made my first appointment with the OB, and I asked him if he wanted to come to that first appointment because my OB had said we would get all of his info and we'd start creating a file at the hospital, and like they were so on top of it, it was amazing.
Oh, good.
Oh, sweet.
That is sweet.
So he said he would come, and I was
Right.
like, okay, perfect. So we like scheduled all of that. So it was 2 weeks prior to that first appointment. It was my birthday. About a week before my birthday, he had texted me and said, hey, is your birthday May 26th? And I was like, oh yeah, it's coming up about a week away and I'm excited and da 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 da. So, and then at that point, I was like really excited. I was like, oh, that's nice. Maybe he'll send me a card
Right.
or a gift or flowers, because I'm pregnant at this point, and
Yeah.
kind of excited about that. So my
Yeah.
birthday is not a text, not a call, not a card, nothing, like nothing. But he acknowledged that he knew it was my birthday.
Right. A week prior.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, okay. And it really hurt my feelings, obviously.
Yeah.
From being pregnant, I was like, you like to forget is one thing, but to like blatantly just like nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Well, then 2 weeks later, he came to town. I was like, well, maybe he's bringing something then. I don't know.
There
Like,
you go.
that's what my husband kept telling me, I think, to talk me off the ledge at that point.
Yes, of course.
He comes, nothing, of course.
Oh,
And that was kind of my first, like, all right, like, this is maybe not going the way that I would hoped it would have gone.
Yeah,
I really
sure.
wanted to have a close relationship, and that was very much discussed. Like, it didn't matter to me if you were 59, 60, and I was 31 at the
Yeah.
time. I wanted a close relationship, and for you to ignore me on my birthday hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So
Aw.
he came, and my husband and I and him and my daughter all went out to lunch and out to dinner and everything. And every single time my husband, immediately said, oh, I'll pay the bill. And he was like, okay, that's fine. Like, never, because the bill would come and it would just sit there. Like, we felt very
Oh.
awkward.
Wow.
So my husband just picked it up because that's just the type of person he is.
Yeah.
And then the next day, that was at lunch. Then that night we had spent the day in Gettysburg. So then we had gone out to dinner. And the second we sat down, he immediately said, oh, separate checks, please. I'm like, okay, like, that's fine. But I could kind of see a trend. I'm like, okay, well, this is just setting up. This is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then that was fine. The next morning we went to the appointment. He was very nice, and he left from the appointment and went back home.
Okay.
And that was that. So
Interesting. Okay, so how is your communication throughout? Like,
so then moving forward throughout the pregnancy, I really tried to have communication. I would text him every once in a while and say, hey, happy Monday? How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun? Or, whatever. And he would just say, oh, I saw some friends. And that was it. Like, never, how was your weekend? How are you feeling? At minimum once a week, we
Okay.
had to speak.
that's fair.
Got
But
it.
we felt, I mean, I always felt like there was no need to like, really like, okay, we need to schedule something every week because we did talk. It just
Okay.
wasn't going anywhere anytime
Yeah,
I would reach out.
Right.
And then, on Fridays or, whatever, like, oh, you have any plans for this weekend? Me and my daughter are doing XYZ. And he'd be like, oh, nothing yet. I'm like, okay. Like, and that was it. Never, what are you doing? Like nothing.
This baby's not even here and I'm feeling so bad for the baby. Okay, it's all right.
Like, okay. I'm like, I tried so hard and I just kept it up because I'm just like, you know what? I don't ever want to be blamed for not trying. So
Right.
this is the person I am and I'm just going to keep it up.
Yeah.
So then, appointments started rolling around at this point, going like once a month. And I would always let him know, hey, my appointment's coming up. When I get there, are there any questions you want me to ask? And he would always say, no, nothing, whatever. And then after my appointment, I would always take the time, like 10, 15 minutes to type up a whole long like text and I would send it to him every time, like the heart rate, like basically a whole summary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would send it to him. And every single time I would get a thumbs up back. That was it.
You're kidding.
No.
Lauren, did he come to any of the appointments after that first initial?
He came to the first one and then he came to the 20-week anatomy scan.
Okay.
And then towards the end, he came to like one before the birth because he was in town.
Okay.
Okay.
Which that was fine. I feel like you're so in and out so quick. Like it would almost feel like a waste for him to come anyway.
Yeah. Unless he lived right around the corner, like sure.
Right.
But even then it's still like it's a 5-minute appointment. Like they're not doing anything. Like
No.
yeah.
It almost bridges, I'm sorry I have to say it, but it's almost bridging on like adoption. It's like I'll just come pick the baby up kind of thing. Like that's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know if that's where this went, but that's the vibe I'm getting.
So in the very beginning, it kind of was that vibe. And then I thought that we were really building like a relationship. So a few weeks go by and then we scheduled our anatomy scan. And I said, obviously this is one that you should really come to. And he's like, okay, I'll come. And he said he would come for ended up coming for like 4 days.
Oh, that's nice.
So I was like, okay, that's amazing. So we came and stayed and like, we hung out, we went and did things and it was really nice. Like my husband, we got crabs and we have a pool and we sat by the pool and, it was a very nice visit. And then we went to the anatomy scan and like, that was nice. And he took me out to lunch. That was the first time he had ever like really had made a gesture. So that was nice. And I was like, okay, we're making progress.
Yeah.
So at that time, my first kind of suspicion that something strange was going on occurred. So it was during that visit when we had gone to like a little town in Maryland where my husband and I grew up. And we just went to visit for the day and they have like good restaurants and a good little shopping area. So I said, well, let's go there for the day. We can walk around. It was a beautiful day. And we were all riding in the car together and his phone had rang and it was just we'll call him G. So it was G. And his name had come up a few times during the pregnancy, but nothing ever weird. It was always just, he's just my really good friend and we talk a lot. I was like, okay. And, he said he lived far away and they just talked. So didn't really think anything of it. And they talked a few times while he was visiting and in the car. And it was always like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye. But I don't know. I guess me being naive, this guy lives in a completely different state. Didn't really think much of it. I have a very close girlfriend that, I'll talk to her and say, love you, goodbye. And that's it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But so then that kind of happened. I was like, well, maybe something strange is going on, but I didn't really think much of it. And that was it.
Okay.
So then fast forward, I don't know, a few weeks go by and he says, and I had asked him, I said, I think I might plan a maternity shoot. And he was like, oh, I would love that. Like if I could attend. And I was like, yeah, that would be great. I'll let you know like what it costs. Maybe we can split it. And he's like, okay, that sounds good. I'll split it with you.
Sweet.
Okay. Like in my head, I'm thinking that's probably something that you should offer to pay for, but whatever. Like if
correct. But yeah.
We'll split it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that had, I went ahead and scheduled that. He made that, appointment and he said, well, before then, do you want to come and visit me in New York? And, you and your husband and your daughter can come stay. And we had never really like gone to New York City. And he's like, yeah, it'd be nice. I'll take you guys to a Broadway show and we can do this and we can do that. And I was like, okay, that sounds amazing. Like, we were so excited.
Yes.
So we planned this whole trip. About a week before, I was like, hey, like, do you have any details on the Broadway show? Or do I need to get tickets? Are you getting tickets? Or like, so we can all sit together.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm not really gonna go. I've been so many times. I was like, okay.
Oh.
I already had told my daughter and everything, because he made it like he's like, oh, we're gonna go see Lion King. It's gonna be this whole
Oh,
thing.
oh, it's such a good
So,
show.
yeah. So my 5-year-old was very excited to go see Lion King.
Oh.
And we had told her about it and everything, but no tickets. So my husband and I bit the bullet and spent $600 on tickets because we promised her a Broadway show. So that's what we had to end up doing.
That's awful. That's
Yeah.
awful.
So I'm like, okay. So we get there and I'm like, okay, well, I have these tickets. So we're going to go do that. And he's like, okay, well, let me know when the show lets out. I'll Uber down and meet you for dinner. I'm like, okay. So we sit down. Oh, as always, first thing sits down. Oh, separate checks. I'm like, okay. Like, you can't even treat us to dinner. Like, we're visiting you.
Right? Yeah.
And at this point, the agency, I had expressed to them that I was upset and like not feeling like there was like, I was told he wanted this close friendship and everything, and it was not feeling that way. Like, my friends and I, if we all go out, hey, I got you this time, you get me next time. Like, that's just how we are.
Yeah.
So the agency had reached out to him like very kind of like nonchalantly, but they were like, listen, when you're around her, you should be, at least at the very least covering her meals. And, if you're visiting, you should, try to, host her or, whatever, like kind. And yeah, so that
abide. Yeah. No.
that never happened.
So where do you stay when you're in New York? Are you putting yourselves in a hotel?
No, he did let us stay. He had like a nice penthouse and let us stay there.
You stayed there. Okay.
Yes. So we stayed there, and then we go to dinner, each paid our own way, and then he says, well, can you order the Uber home? Which means I have to pay for it if I order it on my phone.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I guess.
In New York City, I don't even want to know what that Uber bill was.
Oh, it was $80 to get from the restaurant to his house, and he asked me to order it. I'm like, you're riding in it too? Like,
yeah, I would have said no.
Like,
wait, he's riding in it too?
Yeah, they're going back to the penthouse.
Oh, heck no. I would have been like, no, we can walk.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. And like, you're just in the moment, like I'm literally standing on the sidewalk at 8:00 at night with my 5-year-old who's exhausted at this point. And he's like, hey, can you order the Uber? And I'm like, oh yeah. I just like hop on my phone and then and I'm like, wait a second. Why am I paying for this?
Right. Yeah, why?
Yeah. So
that's not cool. He has offered you to come stay with him.
Yes.
And he has made these offers, promises, whatever you want to call them, to not just you, but to your child. And it's like, wait, hold on. That doesn't make any sense to me. You're literally growing his child, and for him to make these offerings, promises, whatever, to your child and then to break them, that is my biggest pet peeve in life. Like, I don't know how you stayed so calm, because like I would literally go crazy. Like, don't say you're gonna do something and then not do it. That is not okay.
And then so prior to this, when he came to visit us, I had asked him, I said, oh, well, do you know who your egg donor was? Like, I was just curious. We were just like chit-chatting. I was like, oh, what's up with your egg donor? Like, I feel like I've never asked you at this point. It's like, oh, yeah. I have a photo of her. I don't know anything. Like, I don't know her name or where she lives or whatever, but I have a photo of her. Yeah. And he shows me a photo. And I was like, oh, wow, she's very pretty. But she's an African-American woman, and he's a white man, a single white IF.
That's weird.
I was like, so I said that. I was like, well, that's kind of, I said, I would have thought you would have chosen someone that looks like you, because I was like, and I told him, I said, don't take any offense by this, but as a single IF, spending so much money on surrogacy to basically have a baby that looks like you, quote unquote, adopted, like, it doesn't make sense, because you spent so much money to have an African-American baby.
Well, and like,
and like, adopted.
Did he understand that?
So at the time, he played it off as, oh, I just was very specific with my egg donor, like, requirement that I wanted someone tall, and she was the tallest one they could find. So I said it was fine. That's what I was told. So
coming from your perspective of what you have all the information of now, that's where my head would be. Like I'd be like, wait, okay, I'm a little confused because
I think
I have
G.
done this.
I
Oh,
think
all right,
G
I'm
has
getting
dark
there.
skin.
I'm getting there, because I have worked with same-sex male couples, and one was Asian and one was white, and so
Right.
they, the egg donor was whatever,
The opposite.
one wasn't using the sperm, like, so that
Right.
way it looked like, oh, we don't know whose baby, like it's ours. So okay, so I'm interested to see
So that
what
was kind of
is.
like,
Yeah.
well, that's weird.
Mhm.
So that, like, then fast forward, we're in New York, and there's pictures of him and G around the place, and it was always, that's just my best friend, and he didn't live there, so I had really no reason to think that it wasn't. So at that point, my husband and I got home, and I was like, do you think this is weird? And he's like, yeah, I do. And I was like, I wonder if it's like a life partnership where they live separate, but I mean, they're 60, like they're not married. He's not married. I knew he wasn't married. They don't live together. They live in separate cities. I said, maybe they just really are like these monogamous, like, life partners. And when they see each other, they see each other. And when they don't, they don't. But how is that going to go when now one's having a baby?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
so that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, you saw pictures of G in the apartment?
Yes.
Is G African American?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
See?
like, in my head, that was explained basically, like,
For sure.
Totally.
But then I was like, well, why would you
Right.
want to be that looks like your best friend?
Right. If
Right.
there's not more going on there where you're trying to make it look culturally like both of you. No, completely got it. Yep.
So
Trying to hide something.
So then he starts creating his like baby registry. And he was like, oh, I'm gonna send it to you so that you can tell me if there's anything I should add. He's like, he's clueless. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I can add some stuff and like we can like work on it together, whatever.
Okay.
So he sends it to me, and then it's finalized, and he sends me the final link, and it says the baby registry for B and G. And I was like, wait a second.
Interesting.
Why? So then I immediately, like, I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm a blunt person. I'm like, so I immediately texted him. I said, well, why does your registry say it's the baby of you and G?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I need to talk to you about that. Can I call you? And I was like, yeah. So a few hours go by. He finally calls, and that's when he told me that this is his partner, that they hadn't broken up, and he decided to do this on his own, that they were doing this together. He did live separate, but they had been together for 12 years. And that this is like literally their baby that they're having together.
What? So the agency doesn't know this, I'm taking.
Agency never knew. And on this call, he asked that I'd never tell them because he didn't want to get in trouble for not telling them. And I'm like, okay, like, and at that time I was like, well, why do I care? Like, they didn't live together.
Because you were told a lie.
Right. So that, like, at that point, everything in the background hadn't really like registered yet. And I was like, well, I don't really care. Like, you don't live together. And in my head, it was just like, well, they don't even live together. So how much is this really their baby?
Right.
It is.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, but you don't live together. So what are you gonna like? Yeah. So
weird.
So, like, the next day I
look
called
at that as being, you're being, he's being deceitful. Sorry,
Right.
Just point blank deceitful.
Very deceitful.
How pregnant are you at this point, Lauren? How
I at this point was like 32 weeks pregnant, like very pregnant.
Well, you found out at the end.
Close to birth.
And it was never told to me. I found out.
Yeah,
like,
you did because you asked
on an accident. Yeah. So, and behind the scenes of all of this, I had felt very badly because obviously being a 59-year-old man, his friends are not in the business of throwing baby showers. They're probably more in the business of throwing like retirement parties.
Yeah.
So I felt very badly that he wasn't getting a baby shower. So I opened up my home and was in the process of planning an enormous baby shower. All of my friends and family were coming to celebrate him. And then I find out about this.
Wow. Oh my God. Bless your sweet heart.
So I'm like, well, I don't even know what to do at this point, but I'm just like, okay, well, I'm rolling with it.
I'd go bring G. Bring him.
Well, and so I told him, he didn't know about the baby shower. It was like a surprise. And I basically planned it so like we were doing a brunch baby shower, and then we had our maternity photos that evening. So I was like, he didn't know about the baby shower, but I said, if you're coming this weekend and we're doing these maternity photos, G has to come, or like, I don't feel comfortable. He has to come because he's telling me he wants him in the delivery room.
Oh,
And
what?
I don't know this guy, like nothing. And he's telling me he wants him in the delivery room. And I'm like, then if you want him in the delivery room, he has to come.
And I gotta say something. Okay, hold on. Doesn't everyone who's involved in the surrogacy, the intended parents and the surrogate, have to go through a psych eval? So in a surrogacy, anyone who's working with the agency via the IPs or the surrogate has to go through a psych eval, and typically a medical evaluation as well.
Yes.
Okay, so he does not go through any of this, our mysterious partner.
No.
No.
And in our contract, it even stated that he was a single IF, and at any point that changed, like my partner, or if I had another partner, they would have to go through like STD testing and all of that as well. I think during like the embryo create, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it did say in our contracts that he was a single IF, and he was signing that he was a single IF, and that was it. And during our psych eval, that's what I was told.
Yeah.
I was told that he created these embryos as a single IF, and he did. I mean, he essentially went through this entire process as a single dad.
Okay, but in the background,
right,
he's choosing egg donors to represent the other intended
his
father.
partner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then
which would have been totally fine if he would have been upfront about it.
Right. And that's where I started to get upset. That's when I started, I was like, okay, reality's hitting. Like, this isn't right. I never got the chance to match with them as a couple.
Yes.
Right? I agreed to carry a baby for this person. I did not agree to carry a baby for this couple.
Correct.
And my God. That's where I was very upset. And
you're right.
I mean, God forbid, this is a crazy world. My husband and I are like the most liberal, accepting people in the world, but
he hid that he had a partner. He hid that he picked the egg donor to represent the partner.
Right.
He hid it all until
I found out
on a baby registry. Like, what?
On an accident, because then it was immediately removed once I texted him.
Really?
Yes.
Wait, say that again?
It was immediately removed once I texted him. Like, so it was clearly a mistake that it showed up that way.
Yeah. And she's bright enough that
I feel so bamboozled for you. Like,
yeah. But would have felt so betrayed.
And that's what I felt. I just felt like everything I had been told was a lie. Like, you came up with these very elaborate stories as to why you chose this Black egg donor. You chose her because you wanted someone tall. And then the entire story around why you waited this long to have a baby is because you were with a man for 12 years and that ended. And now you decided to do it on your own. Like, literally every aspect of every story was a lie at that point.
So do you go to the agency and kind of give them the 411 on what's going on? Or do you just go the hell with it?
I'm stupid. And he said, please don't tell them. So I didn't.
Wow.
Now hold on. I wouldn't say that you're stupid. I would just say
you're not stupid.
First-time surrogate. You got bamboozled. And you, like, what in the world do you do with that? Like,
at this point, I was like, okay, well, let me meet him and see. Like, I was at this point, I'm kind of like, let me stay positive because this is a blessing. Because honestly, every time I had met him, the idea of him leaving as a single IF with a newborn baby really terrified me.
Right.
Because, I mean, in a sense, he was very like innocently clueless.
Okay.
And it kind of scared me. So I was like, okay, well, he has a partner. Like, this is going to be okay. Like, not that it's my business in the end or anything, but you kind of know that this baby that you're caring for is going to be taken care of in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do have we have a connection to these babies that we carry. And we want them
you want them to go home and be taken care of and loved. And I was very worried, and I knew he'd be fine in the end, but I was like a little scared. So I was like, okay, well, this is actually great because there's another person.
Okay.
And I was kind of excited. So we meet. And
do they come to the baby shower?
Yes. So he did come, and he came and we had this baby shower, and he was so surprised. And he was very, very excited.
Oh.
He literally got everything on his registry from all of my family and friends. Like everyone treated him with so much love, and it was very sweet.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes, it was so nice.
Not to
And
mention, putting on a party is not cheap.
No,
You feed everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent well over $800 to $1,000 having this very nice baby shower for him.
Wow.
And that
So
didn't even
sweet.
include like the gifts that I had gotten him, like nothing.
Oh,
God.
you're so, I'm like bumpy all over the place. You're very, very sweet. That was
Your
not even
heart
necessary to do,
through
but
this
look at
whole-
your heart.
Yeah,
Okay,
your
so-
heart through this whole thing has just it's shown. I don't know what the proper word is there, but even after finding out that
Right.
you were bamboozled, you were like, "Well, I'm still gonna go ahead with it."
I'm gonna still stay
'cause, like
positive.
my heart is still in the right place. Like kudos to you.
Well, and
And
again,
that's where
did he come?
yeah, and so
Did you-
that's where like my husband and I had this conversation because I was feeling like very upset, and he was like, listen, you did this because you wanted to help someone have a baby. Don't let his deceitfulness and his behavior affect your behavior. Like you still
do
be
you.
you as a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm going to do what I want to do as a person and show you endless kindness and love. And then at the end of all of this, I can never say that I didn't try and I
Yeah.
didn't do what I should have done.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
So during this baby shower, my phone was going off. So I checked my phone and I paid for half of the maternity photos, and then he was supposed to pay for half the maternity photos, but the photographer never received that payment. And we're literally supposed to go in 3 hours.
Right.
So she said, if it's not paid, I'm not coming because it's not paid.
Right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, like, what's your Venmo? Like, I'll Venmo you now.
Oh
No.
my God, Lauren, you're too good of a person.
So I Venmoed her. Well, this is like in the middle of the party. So I Venmoed her. And then I was like, hey, do you mind if you can pay for that other half? He's like, oh, yeah, I'll send it to you. It's no big deal. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Not really thinking that there's anything wrong. So we get all, the party ends. I start cleaning up because we have about 2-3 hours to kill. So I'm in here literally 8 months pregnant, cleaning up a enormous spread. And he and G are sitting on the sofa cuddling and just hanging out. And I'm 8 months pregnant, cleaning everything up. Me and my husband are cleaning, like hardcore cleaning up an enormous shower that we just had. And they did not do anything. They did not lift a finger, nothing. And then I'm like, oh my God.
Like very selfish individuals.
Yes.
Put a baby into that situation and it scares me. But
right.
Okay.
And we knew this, but I was like, I'm not changing. Like this, whatever.
Yeah.
So we go have photos done. And then he says, okay, well, do we all want to go out to dinner after? I said, yeah, that sounds good. Let me go home and change them in this maternity gown type of thing.
Yeah.
And I said, we'll meet you at a restaurant like at 6 p.m. So we meet him at the restaurant. Meanwhile, I had literally just thrown him a shower and paid for all of our maternity photos. And we sit down at the restaurant, and we had a group with us because some of his family had come to the shower. And he stands up the second the waiter comes over and he says, I'm paying for everyone except for those two, and points to me and my husband. Like, announced it.
I can't.
Why?
I would have gotten up and walked out.
Like, we were so shocked. Like, I didn't even know what to say. And
how much do you eat, Lauren? Dear Christ. Like
it's literally nothing.
Like a bird. I know. You're 8 months
you
pregnant.
Can't
You have
fit
no
a lot
room left.
in your tummy right
No.
now.
Dear Lord.
And he paid for everyone at the table. Like, it wasn't like it was an issue.
But these two.
But those
Christ.
two, and like
I'm sorry.
pointed to us. So not only is it like mortifying, it's like, well, you literally just got everything on your like registry that would have costed you thousands of dollars, and like you got it all for free. Like, we just saved you all this money.
Right. And threw you a shower and paid for the maternity shoot. And
Did you ever recoup the maternity shoot money?
No,
I was gonna say highly unlikely.
no.
Who got the pictures?
You better.
I got the photos, and I shared just a select few that I was okay with sharing with him because I paid for them.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
you did pay for them. And if he had paid for half, I would say fine. They're equivalent. Everybody can have whatever.
I'm curious. Were both men in these photo shoots?
Yes, which when I knew that he was then coming, I kind of felt relieved because at the time I'm like, how does me and an
Yeah.
older 60-year-old man pose for maternity photos together? Like,
Right.
I was like,
Right.
oh, it's gonna go. This is going to be strange.
Yeah.
It would look a bit odd.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
odd. And
It
we
would
were,
look
we
odd.
already had at this point gone to a few appointments together and got very weird looks.
Oh,
Like,
sure.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, these are gonna go weird. But then the partner ended up coming, and so that did actually go a little bit smoothly.
Okay,
That was
good.
nice.
Good. Okay.
How is G's like attitude, personality?
So he is like very loud and like very friendly
Okay.
and puts off like this, I don't know, like very loud, fun-loving persona. So I
Okay.
was like, well, this is, I really like, at the time, I really liked him.
Okay.
And then I got to know him a little bit better. I found out that he's a nurse, and I'm like, oh,
Oh.
this is amazing. Like, someone's actually going to take care of this baby.
Right. Exactly.
You know, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of gave me some relief. And he was nice, like maybe a little in your face, but very nice.
Okay.
I got along with him. My husband got along with him, and he, for the very first time, like out of our entire relationship with both of them, showed my daughter attention. Like,
Oh.
whereas B, the
Yeah,
first
didn't.
IF, never did. I mean, he kind of acknowledged that she was alive, but that was basically it.
And this is a certain moms doing surrogacy with younger children. I'd say anything under the age of maybe 7.
Oh yeah.
They get it. I mean, they all get it, but that
Oh, she
particular
got it.
age
Yeah.
group, that particular age group, like they want to be a part of it. Their mommy's doing such a great thing. Like,
Oh
and
yeah,
to
and
not get
she was a
recognition.
part of like everything. Like,
Oh.
I homeschool her, so she came to all of our appointments. She came to, like, she was very much a part of this and loved it. And
Wow.
for me, it was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
what better lesson can you teach
Yep.
that you learn in school, how to give back? And
Yep.
also inequality. Like, I'm a huge advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, and like,
Yep.
you can say that all you want, but like to
Yeah.
teach that to your daughter and
Yeah.
like hand over a baby to 2 dads was the greatest
Amazing.
lesson.
Oh
So
my
Yep.
gosh. The
like,
best.
I just kind of kept going for that. I was like, this is great,
Yeah.
that she's going to learn so much. It's a great experience for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens? So shower, maternity shoot, all that. They go back home.
They go back home.
You're here.
and-
We fast forward to delivery, or something else weird happened?
No, so we kind of fast forward to delivery. I mean, he had sent me, he knew at this point that I couldn't travel out of state, feel like I wasn't allowed to.
Right.
And he sent me an invitation to a baby shower that apparently one of his friends was throwing for him in New York City. But he told me, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna send this so you can see it, but obviously you can't come. I was like, okay, like, I know that now because I contractually cannot come, but
Yeah.
thanks. Like, you could have had a little sooner and, you know, invited
Yeah.
me, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh.
So I was like, well, why even send it? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, why even send it? I would have
Right.
just been like, oh, you know what? My friends decided to throw me a party now, and I know that you can't come. Like, we'd love to Zoom you in.
Yeah.
Right.
Something.
Right.
Mhm.
So he had sent that, and, he said, I'll send you pictures and I'll let you know how it goes. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And he, sent me some photos and said, oh, like, you were the topic of conversation and I talked so much about you. I'm like, okay, like, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
Uh-huh.
So fast forward, we kind of, at this point, we're just kind of preparing for like delivery. And he had let me know that he had flown his niece in. So a majority of his family lives in Texas.
Okay.
So he had flown her in. She's around my age, to help him finish up the nursery and all this. So that's nice. And
Okay.
so she comes, finishes up the nursery. He felt a lot better, and all this kind of stuff. So then we start preparing for delivery. And
Mhm.
because my due date was basically Christmas Day, we did an elective 39-week induction,
Okay.
which I wanted to do. I was like, this
Absolutely.
is
Absolutely.
I was induced with my daughter, and I had like the best induction ever. I was
Great.
literally induced at midnight. She came at 4 a.m. Like
Nice.
like so
Oh my
easy,
Yay.
like picture perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
So we planned that. He arrived 2 days before the induction and was planning to stay for about 2 weeks, like basically then through Christmas. They left like 4 or 5 days after Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So I got everything set up for, like, he did his Airbnb, but like I got everything set up where like I'm like, okay, you're gonna need a pediatrician because when they discharge you, you're not going back home.
Right.
I got all that set up. I called, did everything. I called the hospital, made sure they had our pre-birth order, like did everything because the
Oh my
agency didn't do
gosh.
any of it.
They
Like,
didn't?
none of it. They said that if he wanted them to make sure everything was in place for the birth, they would charge an additional $800 fee.
Wow. So you just did it all and he didn't.
So I was like,
Yeah.
well, and I had said, I was like, don't pay $800. Like, that is absurd. I said, it's one phone call because I have a case manager at the hospital who handles all of the surrogate births.
Right. Got it. Okay.
So I was like, don't do that. So I just literally made one phone call and it was done.
Okay. Wow.
So, and I texted him and I was like, oh, hey, it's all finished. He's like, oh my God, thank you. Like, you just saved me $800. I appreciate it so much and all of that.
Okay.
So he comes to town. And the night before the induction, I take my daughter to my mom's house, and me, my husband, and then him, all of his family and his partner all went out to dinner. And that was actually very nice. That for the very first time, he treated us.
Oh,
Okay.
look at
Because
that.
I would have discussed that ahead of time. Like,
Right. Like, it only took having to
God.
literally birth your baby the next day to get a dinner.
Or it only took you having to save him $800. Like, I don't really
I
know.
guess.
So wait, what is
So
the point
weird.
of flying in all of his family and how many does this consist of? Is there 10?
So because it was Christmas. So
Oh.
all of his family decided, well, not only are you having a baby, but it's also Christmas. So they all spent Christmas in Pennsylvania.
Oh my
So-
God. With a
And
newborn.
they rented like a literal mansion, like a huge Airbnb.
Wow.
Okay.
That him and his mom paid for. It was, I think, over $15,000 for 2 weeks.
So
And
his mom was still around, yeah?
yes.
So
yes.
she's getting a grandbaby. We haven't
Yes.
talked about if this baby is gender, what boy or girl.
a boy.
A boy.
A boy,
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And he wanted a boy?
Yes.
Okay.
He did like gender selection, basically.
Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, they all came, which was amazing. And they rented this huge Airbnb and they stayed for like the 2 weeks. And then they just basically did Christmas together.
Okay.
So we all went out, and then the next morning I got the call. We went in, like, I think my husband and I had to get there at like 9 a.m. So we woke up and, got ready. And my husband and I went out to breakfast, and I texted him and I said, I'll let you know when to come, because honestly, for the first like 3 to 4 hours, they're doing nothing. I said, they don't even start the induction for like 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
He's like, okay, that sounds good. And, I'm very anxious, very excited.
Yeah.
So we get there at 9 a.m. and like really nothing even starts till like 1 o'clock before they finally do the balloon catheter and get things going and all of that. So I'm texting him like really nothing's going on yet. And I told him, I said, I will let you know once the like balloon catheter comes out. Because at that point they'll break my water and it'll start moving. But he was very close to the hospital.
Okay.
But I let him know. I was like, I kind of just want to make sure that that's out first before you come, because it's obviously very uncomfortable and you don't have anything on and it's like dangling out and it's just kind of gross.
It's not fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So like an hour or two later, they just show up and walk in. And I'm like, okay, like, and like, I'm like, all right, like, it's fine. So that it comes out, and then it's like,
they're there when it's still in?
Yeah, they just showed up.
Yeah, they just showed up. Now, see, this to me is where the hospital should have
been like, no,
hold on, but like maybe it could have been relayed to the front. Hey, listen, they might show up, but please don't let them in until.
I never thought that they would just show up.
Right.
Like that was never in my head that they were just gonna come, because I was like, I'll let you know, like, and they're like, oh, okay, like we're gonna.
They had to get back there somehow. They had to get through those.
Yeah, they let them back, and like, but the nurses like never really asked. Like they kind of were like, oh, they're here, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like,
can they wait outside for just a minute? Yeah.
Right. So the nurse said, well, let's check your catheter. And I was like, okay, well, then before you let them in, let's do all of that. And so
Good.
they checked and they're like, oh, it's literally like dangling out at this point. I'm like, perfect. So that was fine. It actually ended up being like okay timing, but
Okay.
still
Yeah.
kind of upset me.
You're literally telling them, you're not going to miss this birth. I'm
Right.
going to have you come. So you're
Yeah.
not sitting here for hour upon hour waiting for this baby.
Right,
Yeah.
because the balloon catheter, they put that in and it only comes out when you're at 4 centimeters. So you're not going to miss it. Like when that
Yeah.
comes out, I'm only at 4 centimeters.
You're not even transition period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like
you've got a
we'd
long
still
way.
have possibly hours, if
Hours.
not days to go. You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, and I didn't want, that was like my biggest thing. I didn't want an audience for hours while I'm
I don't
waiting,
blame
Right.
you.
you know,
Right.
and especially because I just met this person. Like,
Yeah, that's too much. I'm sorry. This is
Yeah.
where the line gets drawn for me when it comes to like
Yeah.
delivery room, because
Yeah.
I was literally forced to have my
Yeah.
couple in there or I was going to get sued. Like it was an awful situation, and it's just like, wait, I am like vulnerable and I'm about
Very.
to push a baby out of my body. I
Right.
don't want to have to feel like I have to entertain you
Yes.
while
And that's
I'm
how
laboring.
I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh, I feel so bad for you because that's
Yeah.
so crummy.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sucks.
And before this, he had said, you know, we're going to run some errands. And I said, okay, well, I had spoken with the nurse, and like, because the baby's a patient and then I'm a patient, I get meals and the baby will get like formula provided, but them as the IPs did not get hospital meals provided. Like anything that they wanted, they would have to pay for.
Yeah.
That's just how that hospital worked it.
Yeah.
So I
Most
let them know
hospitals.
that ahead of time. I said,
Yeah.
you know, when I arrived, I said, make sure you bring plenty of snacks and drinks and things like that so that you'll have in your room. And like, okay, perfect. Well, while they're very anxiously waiting, I said, well, run out and do that. That'll give you something to do, get some snacks and things.
Okay.
So they do. Obviously, never even thought to text me or my husband, is there anything we can bring you to the hospital? Like, nothing. You know, I mean, we're going to be there for days too. Like,
Wow.
if it was me, I'd be like, okay, well, we're going to run out. Is there anything I can bring you guys?
Absolutely. A lot of the when it comes to a less businessy transaction journey,
Right.
a lot of the times IPs and surrogates will be like, what can I do for you? Like what can, like how can I
Right.
how can I help each other out? Like it's
I'm going back to selfish. I'm going back to they're very selfish gentlemen. It's not that that's a bad thing on their end, but when it comes to this situation with the surrogate about to give
Right.
birth to their baby,
Right.
it becomes a different situation, and you need to take your selfish cap off and put on your empathy cap and your compassion cap, because that's a big deal.
One.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently not, from what you're
clearly
saying.
They left
Yeah.
that at home.
Yeah. They left that
Lord.
back at home. They didn't bring it to Pennsylvania.
Oh my god.
So they show up and they have like they show up to the birthing room with like all of their bags, like their suitcases and their backpacks. And I'm like, okay, like, this is very overwhelming. Like they're walking in, like they just showed up, and then they have like luggage, and I'm like, wait,
God.
this isn't where we're staying. Like,
Right.
we're still gonna go to a whole nother room.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
they lined the room with all of their belongings, like everything. And I felt at that time, I was like, okay, this is becoming a lot. Like it's me and my husband, and they hired a birth photographer, which I was okay with. Like it was the same woman who did our maternity photos, and I was very excited about that. But then she's there, and all of her camera gear is there, and then two very large men and like all of their stuff. And I'm like, okay, this room is feeling very small, and I'm very overwhelmed.
Right. Claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Panic attack. Yeah.
So
I can see it.
I'm like waiting for the nurse to come in. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna relax. Like it's fine. And I'm waiting for her to come in so I can kind of like pull her aside and be like, this is feeling like a lot. Can we just have like their belongings like either put in the car or like just in the hallway? Like we don't need all of your luggage for 2 days here.
Right.
No.
So before she comes in, they pull out literal foot-long tuna fish subs and just start eating them.
Oh,
Well,
I hate that.
Tuna fish? It couldn't have been
fish subs.
anything else.
No.
It couldn't have been anything else but
Well, they
tuna.
didn't even ask, like, hey, do you mind if we eat? Like, because you're sitting here and you can't eat.
Yeah.
Like,
So just smell what we have and deal.
Right. Because they could have literally gone to the hallway. Because at this point, like,
and they should have.
Yeah, I was only 5-6 centimeters
oblivious
dilated
to life. Like it just sounds like they just don't get it.
But they're just so much in their own space.
Yeah.
Like they really truly don't care about anyone around them.
That-
That was
Oh.
kind of obvious too. Like when we would go out to restaurants and things, just the way that they would treat like the wait staff and all of that. Like it was just very different.
yeah.
So
Shame.
I'm just like, okay. And like my husband and I, we're like, we just look at each other and laugh at this point.
Okay.
Like, well,
It's
what do you mean?
ridiculous.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Like at this point, it's funny because of everything that's led up to this.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Exactly.
whatever. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
Like if it's
Like,
not
of
funny,
course
I'm
this is
lose
gonna
it.
happen.
Right. I'm gonna lose it if I don't find it funny. So let's
Right.
just find it funny.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Fair.
So
Did they pop open beers or sodas or anything?
oh no, they had like sodas and subs. I'm like, they're having their own time. And then like the whole time they're like, what does this mean? What does this mean? I'm just
Oh, be quiet.
Oh.
Oh my God.
like the nurse would come in to check on me and they're like, oh, well, what is this? And what is this?
Oh.
So that's when I like was very much getting annoyed.
Okay.
And
Really,
yeah,
Lauren? It
Yeah.
took you how many weeks or how many months?
very
way
like,
more patience than I ever would.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I'm a very tolerant person. And I do
Yeah.
understand that like obviously everyone is raised different and lives
Yeah.
different. So I was like trying to very much understand, like make this special because at the end of the day, like this is about them. Like this is their baby being brought into the world, and I still wanted it to be special for them. I didn't want to like
Yeah.
I know.
So the nurse comes in. We're like, okay, like I just want to let you know you're at the point now. Like it's great. We can go ahead and break your water, but once we do that, contractions are going to become intense. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, if she's like, this is a really good time to get an epidural if you want to get one. I'm like, that sounds great. So she tells everyone to leave except for my husband. I'm like, okay, breath
Thank
of fresh
God.
air.
Good.
Thank God.
Yeah. So they all leave and for about an hour and like they do the epidural. And then once that happens, like it was nice. So I was like relaxing.
Good.
And then they checked me. I'm like 8 centimeters dilated. So they're like, well, we're going to go for a walk because the nurse had told him it could be about an hour.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, don't go far because honestly, once you get that epidural, like it can go fast because you're relaxed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, stay close, like just go out in the hallway.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm like, at this point, I mean, literally 5 minutes after they walk out the door, I'm telling the nurse, I'm going to puke. I feel so sick. Everything hurts. My legs hurt. She's like, okay, let me check you. And I'm like, she's like, I can see hair. Like you're literally frowning.
Oh crap.
Okay. So I'm like texting them. They're not
Yeah.
answering. My husband's calling them and they answer. They're like, he's like the baby's coming. They're like, oh, okay, we're coming. And like, take her. I was like, come on.
I can't.
I know.
I want to scream right now for you. Like
Reality show gone
infuriated.
rogue. Like okay.
But it's just like you showed up because you were so excited and
Uh-huh.
anxious, which in the moment like annoyed me. But like my husband was like, you know, like they're so excited. It's cute. Like it's fine. Like they're so like, can you imagine you have a surrogate and you know she's at the hospital? Like I'm like, no, I would have been there too. Like I would have shown up.
I would have been there, but I would have waited in the waiting room until you had texted me. Like I would have shown up without you probably freaking knowing that I showed up.
Right.
And then
Right.
being like, oh, I'm here, and be like, okay, great. I'll be in there in a couple minutes. Like
Right.
I still would have respected your boundaries.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know, my husband was like, it's cute. They're so excited, you know, whatever. I'm like, okay.
But to leave when you're 8 centimeters, dear God.
Well, that's the thing. I'm like, you showed up, but now let's go for a walk.
Yeah. Like
Not the
yeah.
time.
No.
So they literally walk in, like my legs are spread. They like walk in and they're like, okay, push. And I pushed like 4 contractions and he was born. It was the easiest birth, like literally came out like no issues at all.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then of course everyone was like all happy crying. It was like a great experience.
Aw. So who got the
So-
baby? Who takes the baby after baby comes out?
So they like just lay him down to clean him up, cut the cord, and then G does skin to skin first because the other dad was very weary about blood, guts, and like he didn't want to see anything. Like just he was afraid to pass out.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I mean that makes sense. So and I think he kind of had said like biologically the baby was his, and he kind of, because he kept it a secret, he kind of went through the whole process. So he wanted to give G the opportunity to do skin to skin first.
That's sweet.
So that was nice. You
That's
know,
a nice
whatever.
moment.
Okay, so biologically
Biologically,
it's
bees.
number 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay.
So he does skin to skin, and then like and I kind of, like 5-10 minutes goes by and I look over and like the first dad is just like this, like it completely ignoring the fact that there is a literal baby that was just born. Like he is just on his phone. I'm like, guys, like this is the 1 hour window. Like put your phone down.
Yeah. Is he telling people that the baby's
Yes,
here?
like he's announcing to everyone that he's born, but I'm like, just wait an hour. Like you're not even in your room. If people don't need to know, like when I'm still spread open.
Exactly.
And we haven't even delivered the placenta yet. Like,
Oh
like nothing.
wow.
Like it was like
Yeah.
literally he's on his phone, like it's in his face.
I get the excitement, but like
But
also
be
take a
in the
quick
moment.
pic of the either be in the moment, take a quick pic of the baby, already have the group message there and send it, and then just put your phone away. Just be like,
And
born,
that's it.
boom, bye.
No, I mean it was literally over an hour. Like just,
oh my gosh.
And we had a birth photographer, and every single photo that
He's on his
they
phone.
have, it's just him with his phone and the baby's like over here.
Oh, that's depressing.
And I'm just like, okay, like these are the photos. He did pay for that. And I'm like, those are the photos that you paid a significant amount of money for. I mean, having a birth photographer is not cheap. Like, so those are the photos.
And that's what your son is going to see when he asks to look at those photos. You're not engaged. You're
not at all. Like at all.
Wow.
So then the nurse came out and was like, okay, like, do you want to do, like, I had to basically tell him, like, you should probably do skin to skin now. So he's like, oh, okay, yeah. So then he does that. And then the nurse comes back in and was like, okay, well, like, let's go ahead and weigh him. And he should really start eating because it's been about an hour at this point. I'm like, okay. So like they're kind of getting everything together. And then B said, the first IF, he says, well, all of my family's here. Do you mind if they come in?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I mind. Oh,
God. Well, so I'm like, I don't know. Like I look at my husband and I'm like, well, can they like clean me up first? Cause I literally, like I didn't have any stitches or anything. So I felt very good.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't move and I was still very exposed at this point.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, can they clean me up first? And then maybe just your mom or just like a few of them can come in and see.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that sounds good. So the nurse cleans me up and like sits me up because I'm not really able to feel my legs at this point. And I feel fine.
Epidural. Right.
And they really they had came over and like hugged me and like thanked me like profusely, which felt very nice, but like hadn't given me much attention after that. Completely fine. And
totally sure.
Of course, like that's fine.
Maybe, yeah.
So then his entire family walked in.
No.
Like, entire family. I'm talking his sister, her husband, his niece, her 7-year-old son, and his mom.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Where's your daughter?
She was at home still. Like, cause this was midnight at this point.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what time baby was born.
Yeah,
okay,
this was like late. I mean, I was like probably like 11 p.m.
What?
And I was like, well, and I had told him, I was like, well, maybe just like your mom and your niece, like those are the very close ones. And those are the ones that I had kind of gotten to know through the journey. I'm like, well, they can come in because I had met them and I knew them. But everyone, like his sister who I'd never met, her husband.
Oh, I would have been furious.
Why couldn't they go to their own room and those people meet that baby there?
Right. Well, we hadn't gotten our rooms yet because they hadn't even finished like the 1 to 2 hours in that first room. I'm like, but really, they shouldn't. You're not really supposed to have visitors like in the birthing room.
No, you're not.
The nurses were so nice because it was a surrogate situation and like let them do that. Yeah. And I had said just these couple people.
Yeah.
And everyone just walked in. So I'm just like, okay, like,
hey, how's it going? Yeah.
Yeah.
How would his sister like it when she just gave birth that everybody that she's never met walk in and talk to her? Like, it clearly is a sign of that. There's no.
They didn't respect me as a person.
And
you were not respected at all.
Yeah.
That is
because they don't have that.
Me.
Right. They don't have that in their beings. It's I hate to keep using the word selfish, but it's all about them. Yeah.
And then looking back, like obviously the relationship that in the moment I thought we had was never there. And that was like the definite, like you had no respect for me.
Absolutely.
As a person.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
I'm so incredible. Like your story infuriates me. Like I feel
it was crazy,
awful for you because I mean, yeah, everything else that happened in your journey is like really crummy, and like there were red flags in here and there, but
Right.
they were
Yeah.
all like tolerable and manageable. But
Right.
when they all just are like, oh, we're gonna like walk in, I'm sorry, like that just like that's like
And
the
that,
straw
and
that
like,
broke the camel's back.
and a huge majority. So it was his mom, his sister, and then his niece, who was my age. So her and I were like literally the same age at the time. We were
Okay.
both 31. And
Okay.
she had a 7-year-old. Or she had a 6-year-old at the time. I had a 5-year-old. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool, like whatever.
Sure.
And then like the husband, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. So, but not a
two-
single one of them brought flowers, a card, a balloon.
Did they verbally say anything to you?
They had all came over and was like, oh, you did such a great job. He's so
Okay.
beautiful. We're like kind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
but like
Oh
So
my God. Like,
Two questions. Then I got two questions.
Yeah.
What is the first time you hold this baby? And number two, did you breastfeed this baby?
yes. So they're all there visiting. And that's when the nurse came over, was like, okay, like we really need to get him eating. He's getting fussy at this point. Like it had been about an hour and a half since he had been born.
Okay.
And we had agreed that I would breastfeed him that first feed because they wanted
Yeah.
me to pump. So I was like, okay, well, that's fine with me. Like, I don't mind. And I was fine with it either way.
Okay.
So his entire family is there. And then they want me to breastfeed him. And I'm like, okay. So I get to hold him. And that was amazing because I basically really got to hold him like very immediately.
Good.
And like, that's one thing that I will always say, as crappy as they treated me and as much as they didn't respect me, I had full access to the baby as much as I wanted. And like, that is such a blessing that
Yes.
I will overlook everything in the
Okay.
moment because
That's
I
fair.
could have as much access to him as I wanted, which was
That's
great.
great.
And I think that's why I put up with so much because I knew that would have been the case.
Yeah. There you go.
So they're all there and I'm just like, all right, well, like I'm going to breastfeed him. So like the dad left or the husband left, like his sister's husband left.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just going to breastfeed. Like, you're here. Like, I don't know. You have really no shame in the moment, but I'm just like, whatever. So I was breastfeeding him and they're all coming over and like looking at him. And I'm like, oh my
get
God.
away.
He's eating. It's a very tender moment. Can you just go for a sec?
Right.
Like,
I was like, okay. And so then I kind of like looked over at the IFs and like, and they're like, oh, so then that they did say, okay, well, let's let him eat. And all
Okay.
that. And then, so then at that point, all of his family left and they said, well, we'll come back tomorrow morning. So that was nice.
Thank God.
So fed him. Yeah. And then we get back to our own rooms and like, I was just very happy to be in my own room. My husband and I settled in and they basically left me alone. I think they checked on me like an hour later and just made sure I was okay. And then I was left alone till like 5, 6 a.m. It was lovely.
That's nice. That is lovely.
So yeah, they come back at 6 a.m. They're like, how is everything? How are you feeling? I'm like, I feel great. And they're like, okay. And then the nurse was like, I don't think the dads are doing so well between you and I. I'm like,
Really?
Oh, like handling the baby.
Yeah. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, at this point, we're like friends. Like, I'm like, okay, what's the tea?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
So she's like, well, they got back to their room and they spent about an hour or two, about 2 hours with the baby. And then they called us and asked us to take him to the nursery. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know, I don't know how it is in California, but here, that's not a thing anymore.
We don't
not
do
a thing.
nurseries anymore.
There's no such thing as a nursery unless something
NICU.
traumatic happens.
Yeah,
And
NICU.
And then they go to NICU. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And like the hospital still had a nursery, but it was for like mom had extreme episiotomy. I don't know, something horrible happened in which they truly needed it.
Yeah.
So the nurse so we told him that. We let him know that there really isn't a nursery. That's not really a thing anymore. And he was very insistent that they take the baby so that they can sleep because they had a long day.
Oh my God.
They
What
had
about
a long
the surrogate?
day. Wait, let's talk about their long day. They went and they just hung out for a bit and then they had sandwiches and sodas and then they took like a 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
And then their baby was born.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
How was your day, Lauren? What the heck?
I told the nurse, I was like, and it kind of broke my heart because he was just born. They spent 2 hours with him and then like she got rid of him. I'm like, he just came from like a warm, comfy place and then was birthed and then shoved into an empty nursery. Like it
Right.
broke my heart in the moment.
So sad.
Yeah. And I said, well, if I have to stay another night and they want him gone, you can bring him to my room. He can come here and me and my husband will care for him because I don't want him going to an empty nursery.
Oh.
And they were like, oh, that's so sweet and all of that. I'm like, okay. So then they brought him back. They took him back to him at 5 a.m. and, they started caring for their son.
Their child. Okay.
Yeah. But then about, I don't know, a few hours later, they come over to visit and they bring him over to my room. We were literally next door to each other, which was nice. And they bring him over and they're, the B is saying to G, hey, if you want to go get breakfast, I guess you can go walk down and I'll stay here with the baby.
Oh my God, like a guilt trip.
Yeah, like they wanted you to keep the baby so they could go get
Right.
breakfast.
Just
Right.
ask.
Which I was fine. I was like, so I immediately was like, if you guys want to go get breakfast, like you're more than welcome to leave him here. I would love to have him like alone for an hour. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So
Good.
like, yeah,
Good for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's nice to have them without like someone staring at you.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So they're like, oh, that would be great. I'm like, okay, perfect. So me and my husband snuggled him, like we loved it.
Yeah.
And
Cute.
they were gone for like definitely 2 hours.
Wow. Wow.
And
You had to feed, you probably had to poop, you had to pee, you had to like you
I'm
was
just
together
like,
with this baby.
and like I want breakfast, and like
Yeah.
I kind of like wanted to wait for my husband. He was gonna leave and go get like Starbucks and like some stuff like that. And they never asked if they could bring me anything back either. That's another.
Why would we
Shocker.
think that they would?
Right. So my husband says, well, I'm just gonna like, you're fine with him. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, go get a Starbucks. So of course, without even asking me, he texts them and said, can I get you anything at Starbucks? And I'm like,
Oh, that's nice of him. I
Wow.
wouldn't have done that, but that's
I
nice
know.
of him.
I'm like,
Yeah.
So they said no, but like that was fine. So then they come back and I'm like, okay, and we're all hanging out and have breakfast, and then they go back to their room for a little bit. And the nurse comes back in and she's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, good, I'm ready to go home. Like I just want to go home.
Good.
And she's like, oh, okay. And so we're just like chit-chatting at this point. And she was like, oh, they're keeping me busy. And I was like, why? What do you mean? And she said, every single time he poops or pees, they page the nurse station. I was like, for what? And they said, for us to change him. I'm like, but there's like, this is their baby. So she's like, oh no, we've told him multiple times that he needs to like change him. Like we're not here to care for the baby, like care for those types of needs.
No.
And the very first time they went in and taught him how to change him and showed him where everything was. And then I guess he had pooped. So they were like, they called for that. And the nurse was like, well, that's fine. Like we taught him how to like clean him up from that and that's not a big deal and all that. But then they just kept doing it. And then she like made it very clear, like, no, like you don't have to page us, you just do it. But they just kept so like they were ready to get rid of them at this point. They just
Wow.
Yeah.
So do they leave when you leave?
So they had to stay one more night because they chose to get him circumcised. So like they couldn't do it till the next morning or something like that.
Got it.
Okay.
So then all of his family comes and they're all in the room and they say, hey, do you want to come over and visit with us for a minute? I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. So I like waddle over there, like so sore at this time, obviously. Like,
yeah.
I'm literally like waddling over there and I walk in and no one stands up to let me sit. And his sister is laying in the bed because she had a knee replacement a month prior. So I'm just like standing there and I'm like twiddling my thumbs, like, is someone going to let me sit?
Yeah.
And no one moves. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, I need to sit down. Like, can I sit somewhere? I'm like, so then she doesn't get up off the bed, of course. I'm given like this rinky-dink wooden chair in the corner that someone got up from. So I'm just like, okay. So I'm sitting there and they're all like, okay, well, we're all going to get like, they're all going home like the next day. And they said, do you want to come over in like 3 or 4 days and do Christmas with us?
That's sweet.
Like, yeah, that sounds nice. Cause at this point it's literally like 5 days before Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, yeah, that sounds good. I actually have like little things for each like I had gotten little things for each person, like nothing big.
Yeah.
And then there was like one kid in the family. So of course I got him gifts because it's a kid. Like we're doing Christmas.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So we all get to, so that they said, do you want to do Christmas? I'm like, yes, that's fine. I actually have little things. I was hoping to get together with everyone. And they're like, okay, well, what can you bring to contribute to dinner? I was like, what?
I just birthed a baby.
I brought the baby.
I brought the
That's what I
baby.
brought.
And I'll bring some pads because I'm literally bleeding. Like, is there anything else you would like me to bring?
Wow.
So they're like, well, if you could bring something, that would be great. And so I look at my husband and I'm just like, I don't know what to say because I'm like the least confrontational. Obviously, you can probably tell
I'm
I'm
gonna pick up
the
some
least
fried chicken.
confrontational person in the world.
That's
Jesus
ridiculous.
So my
That's
husband's like,
ridiculous.
I guess I can stop at Sam's Club and pick up a dessert.
There you
Sure.
go.
So, but like,
You shouldn't
Unbelievable.
have had to.
Unbelievable.
so disrespectful.
So
And if
disrespectful.
anything, any of my friends that have babies, when they get home, I make it a point to like bring them. I don't say I'm not visiting, I'm doing nothing. I dropped off dinner on your porch. Enjoy. Like,
Right.
Exactly.
And like, I
Yeah.
get that the baby didn't go home with you, but you still just
Had a
tore your
baby.
body apart
Got a baby.
to
Yeah.
like birth a baby. You have
Jesus
to
Christ.
recover. So like, you should still be getting food. Like,
right.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing.
oh my gosh.
So we bring a dessert and
Okay.
all of the little gifts that I got for everyone and drove an hour to this Airbnb and we all visit. And it was a nice visit, but
Is
it
there
was
anything for you guys?
No, nothing. Nothing.
Nothing for your daughter?
Nothing.
Even that
Mhm.
mother didn't get something for your daughter?
Nothing. Literally nothing. And we stay there and visit and I like basically had to like beg to even see the baby. Like everyone's just holding the baby and I'm like, oh well, like this is the last time I'm gonna see him for a very long time. Like they're going home in 2 days.
Yeah.
I would hold him for like 1 minute and then someone would come over, oh, it's my turn. And then oh, it's my turn. Oh, I'm like, whatever. Like I'm just over it at this point.
Yeah.
Did your daughter get to like meet the baby and
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
loved it. And she got
Okay.
to hold him and all of
Good.
that. And then
Good.
we had dinner and we ate the dessert we brought and I'm
Good.
like, let's go.
Good.
yeah, dip out by
Yeah. So we get in the car and the very first thing my daughter says is, no one got me anything.
oh,
I'm like, no, they didn't. And she's like, well, we brought everyone presents. I'm like,
right.
yeah, we did. And sometimes people just aren't kind. And that's what I
Yep.
like. I don't know what
That's
else
all
to
you
tell
can
her.
say, right? To
Yeah.
a 7-year-old or 6-year-old. Yep.
I'm
Wow.
like, some people just aren't kind. And
They just don't think about it.
I said, we were kind and we gave them gifts and we showed them that we were kind and we wanted to give them something and they didn't do that back and that's okay.
yeah.
And that's, I mean,
Yeah.
and
It's
then
another
so-
lesson learned. Yeah. Another
Right.
life
So
lesson.
she basically falls asleep. I mean, it's late at this point. It's like 8 or 9
Yeah.
o'clock. We're driving home, and I just like cry the whole way home. I'm like, you literally couldn't. You asked us to bring food to this dinner, and then you don't even think about me for months ahead of time, knowing that it's Christmas, and
Yeah.
you don't even think to pack like a freaking Starbucks gift card,
Right.
like literally nothing.
Nothing.
Not to mention, I just gave birth, but Christmas alone, you don't think to give your surrogate something.
Yeah.
Well, it's just it's so wild how much disrespect went on, not even to you, but like towards your husband, because he's the
Right.
one who's like supporting you through this. He's the one who's
Right.
helping you around the house, doing all these things and like
Everything.
helping with your daughter.
Yeah.
And then not even to show respect to your daughter, who is an innocent in this situation.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, this is, you're showing her the not so good side of people in the world. Yes,
Right.
those people exist, but like, come on, this, you don't have to do like, her mom is doing one of the most amazing, thoughtful things to do for somebody else, and her mom's not even being respected in return. Like, that is
And
so
it's not monetary. It doesn't have to be
awful.
monetary. It could be
No.
thoughts. It could be verbal words. It could be a very warm embrace. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
monetary, right?
No.
No,
But none of that. No, that's the
like nothing.
Nothing.
And yeah,
Hey, Lauren, you
So-
gonna do this again?
I actually am. So
are you?
I go in 2 weeks for a med clearance appointment.
You go, girl. You go,
So
girl.
you're matched?
I matched independently.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So, well, I have to tell you the funniest part of this entire thing.
Yeah.
So the next morning I wake up to a text, like they had sent it very late. Like it was clearly a late night feed text. And it says, hey, we really want to get together one more time before you leave or before we leave. And I was like, okay, let's all grab lunch. Like there's this restaurant in the middle.
Okay.
So we show up to the restaurant and they said, we're so sorry. Like we just didn't have it together. We were so all over the place with the new baby in the house. We just didn't have time to wrap all these gifts that we got for you. I'm like, okay. So we sit down and we're presented with gifts that are in the bags that I gave them their gifts in. So clearly you had gone out the next
After.
day.
Because
Right,
somebody
because
said
you
something.
felt so guilty.
Yeah.
Because they
were like,
probably
"Oh,
felt
crap."
guilty because I literally brought every single person a small gift. Like
Yeah.
even down to the sister's husband who mentioned at the hospital to my husband that he's really into beer. So my husband went out and got him a 4-pack of beer. Like little
There you go.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very sweet things that I got
Yeah.
each person.
Yeah.
So we show up and like they were like the most like just generic. Like
Yeah.
you could tell they ran out the next day, and it was
Right.
like from Nordstrom Rack, which I knew was right down the street from their Airbnb.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was like I got a pair of like nice sunglasses and a candle, and my husband got a Lowe's gift card, and my daughter got a Barbie, and like that was it. And it was all wrapped in the literal bags that I gave them their gifts in.
Wow.
I
So okay. So we all get lunch. Obviously the baby's there, but they, he was sleeping, so I wasn't allowed to see him or anything. I'm like, okay. And then they went on their way, and leaving that lunch knowing they were going home.
Yeah.
Gave me like a sense of relief that I didn't have to like meet up with them and constantly have my heart broken. Like I kept feeling so upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I got
fault of
home
yours.
and I was like about 4 or 5 days postpartum at this point. And like, I think all the hormones and everything, like I just was not doing well in that time. I was like, they don't care about me. Like they're back at home. They never texted me at that point to see how I was doing, like nothing.
Idiots.
And then, hormones even out, and I'm like, literally it was like one rough day and then I was fine. I'm like, okay, like I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I get a text, hey, G has to go out of town and I don't feel comfortable being like completely alone with the baby for like 2 days straight because I would have to be up all night and then all day. God forbid. Can you come and stay with me and help me with the baby?
No.
Yeah. And so at this time, like we had talked about visiting each other and things, but like once you basically did nothing for me, I was kind of like, well, that's not on the table at this point.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So I had, told my husband, and of course, my daughter hears and was like, I want to go see the baby. I want to go see the baby. And he did say like, you and your daughter can come.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right. So I was like, well, you want to go see the baby, whatever. So we go so I texted him back. I said, I will come help you with the baby, but you need to, at the very least, you need to pay for my parking, because when I go to New York City, it costs me $80 to park for 2 days. Like it's
dumb.
Like there's a garage in his building, but they charge me $40 a day to park there.
Mm-mm.
So, and at this point he had flew his niece there to help with the nursery. So clearly putting like helping people come help him.
Cool.
And you're asking me to come help you.
Yes. Yes.
So he I guess just pretended that text never came through and never responded to it.
Jesus.
And then like 2 days before I was like, hey, are you still coming? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming, like whatever. So we show up and like I help with the baby, and it was nice. He had gone out. I said, well, why don't you go out with your friends and my daughter and I will keep the baby, and like you just go out and have a night on the town.
This is wild.
You're super nice.
I didn't even want to deal with him at
but
that
see,
point.
I'm the same way. I wouldn't have wanted to deal with him. Just leave me with the baby. Go get out of here.
No, for sure. But it's just why I've never heard of an IP being like, can you babysit my baby like fresh out of the oven? Like
right, because he couldn't care for him. Like he he told me that he does not he said, I cannot wake up at night. I don't do that.
Then
That's
get a
what I
night
was-
nurse.
Right. They
He
have them.
did. He at that
Okay.
point he did, but they couldn't start until the baby was like 6 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And it was prior to that point.
Fair. Okay.
Meanwhile, at the hospital, the nurses were literally caring for the baby.
Right.
And then on discharge day from the hospital, he had brought like a going home outfit, but didn't know how to dress the baby. So they left the hospital in Pennsylvania 6 days before Christmas in a white onesie undershirt. And that is it. No hat.
Isn't it cold there?
Yeah.
It was the week where it was 15 degrees that day that they went. And he was literally in basically a cotton like sleeper, and that was it. No hat,
Wow.
no because he sent me a photo, was like, oh, we're going home, and the baby is in the car, which had not been warmed up because I could see the frost on the windshield.
Oh my
like
God.
no one went down the car, and he's literally in an undershirt, and that's it. So I'm like, okay, like clearly these people have no idea what
They
they're
have
doing.
no idea. So you help. Yeah, you help. You do your thing with him. You have 2 days there, and then
2 days. And so I help and all of that. Never offered to like, hey, I'll get you, like, because I told him, I was like, just go out on the town, like plan something. I told him this ahead of time. I was like, plan something with your friends. Never leaves me a penny to pay for dinner for my daughter and I. We had to order food in. Obviously, we have a newborn baby.
Yeah.
Right.
So I DoorDashed pizza in for me and my daughter. Doesn't pay for any of it.
Oh my gosh.
And the baby sleeps in the room. So it's me, my daughter, and a newborn baby all sleeping in a bedroom.
Great.
Which was fine. Like my daughter's not waking up to a little crying baby. It didn't even wake her up. And whatever. And then the next morning I wake up and we drive home.
Okay.
And that was it. Like didn't really talk too much. Like it was like very seldom. Here and there, every once in a while I get a picture and I'm like, oh, he's so cute. And how's he doing? Good. And, that was kind of it. Very, very much like it was during the pregnancy. Like kind of just wishy-washy. But it was nice getting photos to show my daughter.
Yeah.
That was a learning journey. Whew, that was a learning journey.
So then I knew that I wanted to do another journey because I loved the experience of being pregnant. It was just very much with the wrong people.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wanted to have the chance to have the relationship that I wanted. Like I still at this point was craving that. I don't know, like it sounds selfish, but I didn't, it's not for
it doesn't.
I was craving like the feeling of being appreciated.
Right. No, it doesn't sound selfish because that's why I did a second one. I didn't get
I never felt like I was truly appreciated.
Right. You weren't.
I did this huge thing and like no one even cares. Like no one even said anything. Like
you need a redemption.
Yep.
Yes. And so
you need to heal from the trauma from the first. Yep.
Right. So like, I don't know, one morning my husband's getting ready for work and it's like 6 a.m. and I kind of like roll over and I'm like scrolling through Facebook and a post comes up like in a Facebook match group and it's these two guys and they're like literally the most gorgeous guys I've ever seen in my life, of course, because all gay guys are like gorgeous.
Adorable. I love
them. And they're like, they look like they're my age and they have like the most beautiful posts, but this is like February and I had just given birth.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I was like, damn it, I'm gonna lose out. Like they're perfect.
Yeah.
They're not gonna want me. Like I can't even transfer for like a year at this point. So I messaged them and I'm just like, hey, like you guys are so cute. And I basically told them my whole story. Like I just gave birth and I'm looking to match again, but I can't transfer till like December and all this. And they're like, you have no idea how perfect that is because we're making embryos and our embryos won't even be ready till September. I'm like, wait, what? This is
perfect.
Yeah. So we started talking and they're like literally my new best friends. We talk every single day.
I love it.
They have come to visit. Like we've already hung out like all the like a bunch and
Oh, well, we're gonna do part 2 then with you during this after that journey.
I know.
And like compare. There's gonna be no comparison. No. Good for you. Good for you.
So then in April we like officially meet for the first time after talking for months and like just we all loved each other at this point.
Yeah.
And then we took a photo and the one guy said, do you mind if I post the photo on my Facebook? I'm like, no, that's fine. Like you can tag me. I'm not a private person. Like, and I was really wanting a journey where I could share and we could really
exactly.
They were like all about it.
Yes.
So they posted it and was like, we're so grateful. Like, please meet our future surrogate. Like, it was the sweetest post.
Oh, nice.
And my first IF saw it, which I knew he would because we were
Good.
close. But I wasn't hiding anything. Like,
Yeah.
so not even 5 minutes later, my phone starts ringing. And I answered and I'm like, hi. And he's like, I saw your Facebook post. And I'm like, I'm thinking he's gonna be like, I'm happy for you, congrats. But why
No.
am I thinking that?
He wants baby too.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So he said,
I saw it.
He said, well, when we were coming, he was supposed to come visit with the baby and his partner. They were going to come visit and bring baby down to Pennsylvania and visit us. He says, well, when we were coming next week, I was going to ask you to do a sibling journey, which never crossed my
Ever.
mind. I had like joked when I was pregnant, like, oh, if you ever want a sibling, like I would like to do another journey, but like that was kind of prior to everything.
To all
and
the
then,
yeah.
like, postpartum in the hospital, he was kind of like, oh, now I have to like get convinced to do another one, like to his partner. And I was like, yeah, let me know. But like, it wasn't really like anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it kind of was just like joking around and never, I mean, they're 60. And
Yeah.
it
No,
was,
thank you.
yeah. I
No.
mean, they're both 60. And it was
One and done.
very
Like-
clear when in the beginning and when we had the weird embryo split that he wanted one. There was
Right.
no want of two children at all.
Right. Right.
So I tell him, I was like, that is so sweet of you, like that you think of me that way. I said, but it's just really in my heart. I want to work with this other couple and I really want to help another family.
Good.
And he lost it. Like, lost it. Started yelling at me, told me that I was a huge liar and he had dibs on me.
Dibs on you.
Dibs on, yes.
He doesn't own you.
Right. He said, you told me I had dibs. And I said, I never said you had dibs. I said, if you wanted, like, I was like more joking around, like, oh, like if you want to work together again, let me know.
I would have ended the
Good
conversation.
dibs.
Said, please don't contact me again. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry that.
Dibs.
Sorry. You did.
And so I very much, I told him, I was like,
Good.
you don't have dibs. Like, no one has dibs. And I'm sorry that if I said something that made you think that this was already a set in stone. He's like, I thought this was set in stone. We were having another one. I'm like, I haven't spoken to you like in months. Like,
Right.
Yeah. And you also never respected me. So
Yeah.
no.
Right.
Right.
So it basically ended and he was like, well, we're obviously not coming to visit you. There's no point now because you're not going to like, that was
Again, all about them.
right.
Okay.
Because I didn't know, but at the time, the only reason they wanted to come visit was to ask me to have another baby. But now that I can't do that, there was no point in coming.
Of course not, because you didn't birth this lovely child for them and maybe you'd want to see him again.
Right.
Unbelievable.
And, like, I even said, like, why can't, and I asked him, I was like, why can't we have a relationship moving forward? And like, I will help you find another surrogate because they're not on social, like, they're really not on social media. They have Facebooks, but they don't post or anything.
Yeah.
So, like, I will help you. I'll show you Match Group, like things like that. But in the moment, I didn't quite realize that I was their last resort because they had aged out of all the agencies.
There you go. Yep.
So if I said no,
when you're 60, do they age them out at 60?
Well, the one was 60 and the one was 62.
Yeah,
their like combined age was over the limit. So if I said no, they had no chance of having a sibling.
There you go.
But I didn't, like, that's not my fault.
And that's
I'm
not
sorry.
on you.
Yeah, you're not going to be guilted into it. No way.
No. And had they treated you with respect,
right,
and
that
had
was
a
the thing.
decent relationship,
yeah, would have been a different outcome for sure.
And like, I mean, I arrived home after giving birth, like, to not a text, no flowers, no like, oh, hey, here's a DoorDash gift card so you don't have to cook dinner tonight. Like, literally nothing. But in the back of their head, they're thinking they want a sibling. You would think you would have treated me so nicely.
right? Or it just,
that's a shame. That
really
is.
So I was like, no, like, it basically was like kind of like awkward, but I was like, no. And you're like, all right, well, we really have no reason to have a relationship with you anymore. You'll never see the baby again, and we don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm like, that's fine.
Okay, whatever. I'm gonna go be with my new peoples. Wow.
Well, and I like at this point, I'm naturally like love these other people, but I'm just like, it's sad that you would ruin that.
Yeah.
And ruin it for your son. Because like me and my husband and my daughter were like so kind, and you're taking away this entire like group from his life
Yeah.
that really love him, and like why would you get rid of that?
Exactly.
Because I selfishly wouldn't have another baby for them.
Jesus.
That's so awful. I'm so sorry, Lauren. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and
but
so-
I'm
But thank you for
so-
sharing all of it, because it has to be told. Situations like that have to be told.
I
Journeys,
know.
people need to know. You see flags, but you didn't know. You can't see it going in. You just can't.
You
Because
don't.
I didn't see that until about 32 weeks, and then I started to get like, oh, wait a minute, I don't think this is going good. Like, because I didn't know
Right.
your story. And
I
when you get to
know.
about 32, I'm like, oh crap,
Yeah.
it's too late to turn back now.
Well, and like the new couple already, like Mother's Day, they sent me flowers and was literally like, we hope you have the best Mother's Day. If it wasn't for you being a mom, you know, like the
Sweet.
cutest thing.
they are thoughtful.
They're thoughtful.
They
And
do
considerate.
normal things.
You were raised right. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like I had randomly posted on Facebook, like, is anyone selling this Lululemon belt bag? Like I'm looking to buy one used, you know, what at random. Well, then like not even 4 days later, one shows up on my porch, brand new. They shipped it to me. Like,
Oh
Dear
my
God.
like
God.
sweet things that
Yeah.
obviously none of us are in it for that, because that's not the
No.
heart of a surrogate.
Yeah.
But those
It
are
makes
the
you feel
things as
appreciated.
parents that, or future parents, that it connects them, and it makes
Yeah.
us like want to even care for their baby and do this even more for them.
Yes, exactly. Just being shown appreciation, whatever way that is.
Right.
Everybody sees it in a different way. It's like a love language. Like that's
It
basically
is.
what it is.
Yeah.
And so, oh my gosh. I'm
So now we go for our med clearance in 2 weeks, and we're spending the night at their house and
Oh my
having a
gosh.
slumber party before.
Very fun.
That's so fun.
Yes.
We'll talk all about, we'll do it if you're willing. We'll talk about the second journey when you're all done with that
Yes,
one. That would be
I
great.
know.
Well, thank
Oh
you
my
so much,
gosh.
Lauren, for sharing. I know
Yes.
that wasn't the easiest, but a lot of information came out of that. Like seriously.
Yeah.
A
And I hope
lot.
it was therapeutic in a sense for you.
Yeah.
It is. And it was just, a lot.
You didn't
just
deserve it.
happened, and it feels good to be moving on.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm
You
so
didn't deserve it.
excited for you and this new couple and your new journey. And I can't wait to
It's
watch
great.
watch you on it. Like
Oh, I'm super excited.
I'm
You're
sorry
gonna
about
get
the first
everything
journey.
you need. Everything
Yeah.
you're
I think the
everything
biggest
your heart
lesson
desires.
learned is
gonna be
to
awesome.
remain yourself and remain kind, no matter how others treat you. And
Yes.
that was when I knew things were going south. That's what I still wanted to teach my daughter.
Yep.
That is
And you did.
perfectly
You-
said. That was gonna be my question. What would you tell people? And that's perfect.
No matter how
Awesome.
you're treated, you went into this for the right reasons,
You
and
did.
don't change those reasons, even when you're not treated nicely.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you have such a beautiful heart and soul. I adore
Sweet.
you.
You're so sweet. And thank you for taking so much time. We went over like
I know.
lots, but
I'm so sorry. I know it's so late where you are.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
Thank you
Lauren.
so much, Lauren.
Yeah, good luck with the new one. Can't wait to know about it.
Thanks.
All right,
I
honey.
do.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
I love her so much. I know we went really long, so we'll wrap it
Yeah.
up. But Lauren, you
Yep.
have like the best heart and soul, and like you are just such a sweetheart.
Yeah, wish her all the best.
Yes. If you guys have any stories or questions you'd like to share, please feel free to reach out to me at Stop.Sit.Surrogate on Instagram. And this has been another episode of Stop.Sit.Surrogate with Kennedy and Ellen.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye.